Welcome to deferred weekly build. As usual, most of the notes will be on spawning tool, but I wanted to kind of show just how a game can look to perhaps more easily remember some parts of it, and perhaps some techniques that I forgot to write about will be shown in the replay. So, like the other builds, this is a PVC build. And we open with a regular gate expand. So gateway into gas into 20 nexus. A bit sloppy here, but it's not a super tight build, so it's not a big deal if you forget anything like this. This is actually probably the easiest build so far, by far as well. If at any point you forget to build a void ray or forget to build a stargate, then you just build a sentry instead, which is gonna have more energy. So it's really, if you mess something up, then something else is gonna get better instead. Probably. So open with the adept and the warp gate after stargate. Go across the map and scout. Now I wrote about this briefly. It's important that you can defend 4 bases with a sentry-based army, and I thought this map was pretty decent, at least at first glance. We have a choke here, we have a choke here, and there's even a choke here. This is pretty open, but it's not, I mean, it could have been even more open, so... And we even have 5 bases here, at least 5 bases worth of minerals if we take the base from here. So that was the idea, and I should probably introduce what this build is as well. So we're opening with sentries and void rays as defense, probing up quite heavily, and then because we're a bit afraid of queen and hydralisk pushes, we're getting some tempests after that. Since +1 tempests now 2-shot hydralisks, and they're much faster, so I think hydralisk pushes should not be that much of a problem. And finally you transition to storm and archon and build up the deathball from 4 bases, relying constantly on having like 6 to 8 sentries to slow down the fight so much that the void rays can fight a small army at a time, and the tempests can poke away for very long periods of time. So getting back to the build, we opened with a void ray to kill the overlord and to secure the third, and then went for an oracle to scout a bit. Getting +1 air weapons, second stargates, warping in some sentries. And note how already we can send an hallucination if we want. So it's very hard to scout anything back here with the oracle, just because queens are going to be standing here. However, we almost have 2 hallucinations, so we can send in 2 hallucinated phoenixes going on a path like this, or perhaps a path like this, or a path like this. So scouting tech buildings is actually possible, at least to some percentage. It's impossible to scout everywhere. These gases are a bit late. You probably want to build them even before the space is finished, so you can start mining from them instantly. Scouting the spire, of course,
your games are gonna look different. Spire, I think, is a very good reaction to this. So we can actually prepare a bit extra for that, and the reaction I went for was the Fleet Beacon for Phoenix range potential. And another very important thing, the Spire, if it's scouted, some Zergs can cancel it because it's quite expensive, and it's hard to go Mutalisks when Protoss knows about it. So it's great to scout the Spire again to see if that happened, and I was lucky enough to see that cancel, or, well, fortunate, I should say. Any kind of move out like this is usually punished by the Oracle. If there are any Ravagers here, the Oracle can go ham, Void Race can go out here. He's pushing with Queens though, so Void Race alone will not do. But we have the sentries for that. Starting these upgrades just because adding zealots to this army is not great. Adding adepts, we don't really have any way of spending minerals. So we get static defense on this basis. We want static defense here, but eventually we're gonna need zealots. And then we want them to at least be decent, so we get +1 attack for that and charge as soon as you think you can get that without losing to a push. +2 attack is nice to have, but it's not something you absolutely must have, like when you play carriers. Carriers just benefit much more from the upgrades compared to the other units with their low damage. In the old patch, tempests would have loved to have +2 because that's when you needed +2 to one-shot Hydras, but now you just need +1. So just keep building up, try to mine efficiently. Take a 5th when possible. Once again, minerals doesn't really matter, so even if they kill your 5th base, it's not a big deal. And from here, I think the build order notes stop at around 7-8 minutes. Here it's really gonna depend on what your opponent does. Maybe they push, maybe they play macro. So I think you're gonna have to adapt to that, and it's also very straightforward from here. We spend the minerals with zealots to harass. Try to get as much gas as possible and build up the Doom army. My mistake, I will play out this replay, because why not? The mistake I made here is I really think I should start shield upgrades here, because it benefits all of the units, and Archons are a key part of this army. Other than scouting, you can do some pokes like this. This is quite annoying because 2 adepts will one-shot drones, so Zerg can't really ignore this. Has to, well, either they have to send the entire army or they have to start splitting their army up, which is quite APM intensive. So you can save yourself some hassle by doing this. So the Zerg is busy on their side of the map. Of course, this timer that we saw, this cooldown, which shows that the unit is about to die, it's not something the Zerg actually sees. It's just for some reason shown in the replay. This army is not strong yet. It's missing many Archons. However, the Zerg army is not strong yet either.
Another mistake I make this game is I completely underestimated the mineral income. As we see, it would have been nice to have a prism, even more gateways. Be prepared to sacrifice these sooner. And perhaps have this base up with more cannons. Other than that, I guess I can give you an idea of how I think you should look at the game at this point. As I said, harassment used the minerals like this. But what you should do with this army is continue scouting. You can use hallucinations around your bases. Patrolling a phoenix here, patrolling a phoenix here. Because you might be quite blind, like I am. So that will give you some heads up with the army positioning. And increasing the... You can stop at probably 6 to 8 High Templar, maybe even 4 to 8. Archons are really good. You might want to add... because, now that I think about it, because you're so mineral heavy, you might want a few more void rays. If you end up in this maxed out position where you don't have any gas. Archons are the best unit here, but the Voiders have good better upgrades, and they cost much less gas. Another thing is you have the force fields. I think this is a key part of this army still. One big fear when you move out with a deathball like this is you get surrounded completely. And corruptors can still do it, but you can prevent lurkers from doing it. You can prevent banelings from banelings from surrounding you. So try to, I guess that's another exercise here, is using both storm and force fields. Probably not the smartest to make these where he saw that I made them, but you can perhaps pull your opponent out of position with something like this. Taking a pretty bad fight. I think I have too many probes. I'm mining minerals, which I cannot do anything with. Or perhaps what happened is what is actually a good plan as well, but no, I don't think so. Basically just spend my money here and overrun him with salads. So yeah, when you're going for this deathball type army, usually you want a much lower probe count. But this is pretty fun as well. I mean, you probably don't have to refine the end game when you're doing this build, simply because you're not playing against Cyril, most likely. So Zerg will be making tons of mistakes as well, so you can get away with these things. But yeah, you can think about how you want to do it strategically as well. But what I want to put emphasis on is more on how to control the army. I think you should think about today. Yeah, that's it. I will see you next week, and I hope you enjoy the build.